Good evening to Ridgecrest Talk. I'm the host tonight, Paul Vander, and we have the founders of a nonprofit here in Ridgecrest tonight, Billy and Betsy Reynolds, with Teaching Kids to Fish. And kind of a funny story this evening is I was heading over to pick them up, and I took them out to dinner first so we could sit and talk. And we had some challenges due to the construction on Ridgecrest Boulevard. And I had to wind around. I think it took another 5 to 10 minutes to get them picked up, and we went out to eat. And so we kind of made that time up here in the studio, and we had a good time. But Billy, what really excited me and interested me when we were having dinner and the talk that we had was how you guys first started with this nonprofit idea, Teaching Kids to Fish. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that first started?
All right, Paul. Well, it all started, I'm an average fisherman, and it all started one day we was loading our boat to go fishing, and these two youngsters were walking down the street, and they were smoking and cussing, and they stopped and asked, where am I going fishing? I said, Lake Isabella. And as they started to go away, I heard one boy say to the other one, man, I'd like to learn how to fish. So we called them back and said, hey guys, if you guys can refrain from all that bad language and smoking and stuff, maybe we could talk to your parents and take them fishing. They said, we'll refrain. So we went and talked to their parents, and their parents said for the whole weekend, take them. So we took them, and we had a great time, and we all caught fish, and we brought them back home safely and dropped them off, and the following week I had those two boys and two other boys. So it kind of started off into the garage on my weekends off from work. And so we prayed about it and went into looking into it as a full-time ministry for the neighborhood, the kids in the community, to get them off the streets, away from drugs and alcohol and the craziness of the streets.
Right. Now, Teaching Kids to Fish is the name of your nonprofit. It
Yes.
just started here, what, about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago?
2.5 years ago, yes.
And you're located, what's your address there on Ridgecrest
We're at
Boulevard?
317 West Ridgecrest Boulevard.
317 West Ridgecrest, which is kind of right across the street from Albert and that corner Marcus.
Yeah, we're right next to the Eagles and about 4 doors down from Dart.
Okay. So that's just that's our old neighborhood right there,
Yeah.
as far as growing up here in Ridgecrest, and I remember going out there as a kid. And so you got that retail outlet, but you guys aren't starting out as businessmen with a business plan. You're starting out as fishermen.
That's
and
correct.
trying to figure out an excuse to go out and fish.
That's correct.
And so I think that's a little bit different than how most people are writing a business plan. Your business plan, and you told me that when you first started selling some of your used items at your thrift store, what was your accounting system when you first got started?
we had 5 cups. Once we acquired some stuff to put into the little thrift store, we had 5 cups. My wife, Betsy, would put the dollar bills in one, quarters, nickels, and dimes, and that's how we made change in the beginning.
So it's the 5-cup system.
5-cup system, and it worked great for a while, a good long while.
Well, it's got to be a big challenge, because now your desire is to take kids out to fish, but what you end up having to do is pay the rent, pay the utilities, and take care of all the bills. How's that going now, being a small businessman here in Ridgecrest, with the economy and with the road construction going on?
Well, the road construction has really put a damage to what we're doing. We're down about 87% of what we normally do in a month's time. And what we do in a month's time from the thrift store and the tackle shop, that covers all the utilities and allows us to take the kids out once a month fishing. And with all this construction, we're not getting the business.
You're down 87%?
We're down 87%.
In other words, you're getting 10% of what you normally do.
Almost 10%.
Right around 10%.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's having a huge impact on you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I noticed when I drove down there today, each business had 1 or 2 cars, and I'm thinking those are probably the employees, and there's 1 or 2 cars on the street, and there's just a lot of work going on there, and I think it's a great improvement project, $6 million
Yes.
on that section of road from China Lake Boulevard to Mahan. But at the same time, all these small businesses, that's a big hit right during your summertime, which is, how does that work? Are you usually busier in the summer or in the winter, or is it year-round?
We usually are, because that's when we have more kids in the program. We haven't been able to fish the kids in 2 months since this construction started from Downs down, not Downs, from, what is the next street there?
Norma?
Norma. from normal, when it hit normal, that's when it really started affecting us.
Right. So that up until about July, it wasn't having too much an impact because they were farther down the street. But from July until now,
yes,
it's had a much bigger impact.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and it's funny. We stopped in there. We were looking at some of the pictures of the different construction, and there's a ditch here and then a ditch there, and this road's closed and that road's closed, and then I saw the mayor has that big sign. He's doing the best he can. It says no through traffic doesn't mean you. We want you to go to these local businesses on Ridgecrest Boulevard and stop in. And then it said business as usual. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it sounds like business is not quite as usual, and that's been quite a challenge for you in the short term.
Right.
And how do we, as a community, support that for these small businesses to come through that?
Well, the best way, Paul, would probably be down there. Fight your way into these businesses, fight your way into teaching kids to fish, buy some stuff from the thrift store. We have the tackle shop there. That is our source of income. We don't do a lot of fundraising. What fundraising we do in-house, and the thrift store and the tackle shop is what pays the bills and allows these kids to go fishing.
So the whole purpose of this retail store, so to speak, the thrift shop and the tackle store, mm-hmm. is to support and to provide a way of bringing revenue in so that these kids can go fishing.
That's correct.
Okay. It's just kind of an amazing business model, being a student of business when I went to college and all the things that you're taught. You're a nonprofit, but you're also a faith-based nonprofit.
That's correct.
And so there's a big difference there where a lot of people have to write their business plan and then they go out to get that to work. You are taking your step of faith from the very get-go and then trying to catch up. That's got to be a real challenge.
It is a real challenge.
Betsy, real quick, what are some of the things that you do there at the thrift store during the day?
I do cashiering, stocking, working with customers, several things. Telling the children, meeting the children, that they own the store, because they do. And
well, that sounds like a big difference. The children are the full focus, and that's a big difference in the way you're doing your business there. And let's go ahead and take a break here for just a minute. We're going to come back and talk about more of what we're doing with the kids. I'm Paul Vander with Ridgecrest Talk, and we just really appreciate everybody tuning in with us this evening. Welcome back. This is Ridgecrest Talk, your host Paul Vander with the founders of a local nonprofit faith-based business, Billy and Betsy Reynolds, teaching kids to fish. And we talked a little bit this last segment about some of the frustrations and challenges we've had locally with the construction and with the tough economic times. But let's talk about some of the fun, because obviously you started us out fishing, and I just love this story that you started. You're getting ready to take the boat and go up to the lake, and a couple kids are walking down the street, and you challenge them, hey, if you guys can clean up your act for the weekend, we'll take you fishing. That's just a great start. Now, there's some other angles and some things that you guys are doing that we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. One of them is you have a classroom there mm-hmm. at Teaching Kids to Fish, and you have a computer lab.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about that, the teaching kids in the classroom, where you're actually taking an aquarium and actually growing some fish mm-hmm. and teaching those kids a little bit about that. And I think we have some tape that we can roll from some of the pictures of that. Why don't you tell us about that program?
Okay, Paul. That program is Trout in the Classroom, and we're sponsored through Abu Bonita Fly Fishing Club. They sponsor us to have that program. And what we do is we set up our aquarium, we get it right, and they loan us a chiller, which brings the temperature down to a certain degree. 54 degrees is optimal. And they bring us the eggs. We put them in the tank, and the eggs actually survive for a bit of time. And then they hatch, and then they become fries, and they grow up into the stages. until their fry is about 1 inch long. Now these fries, when they're that long, we, as a group, we all pick them up and we take them down to, for the last 2 years, we took them to the upper kern and we released them together. So we were able to show the kids the entire life cycle of the fish, from the egg all the way through to release.
So you're taking them in the classroom when they're coming once a week, and they're getting to see these eggs being hatched and these fish in the aquarium.
Right.
And then what is it? The state determines where you're going to release the fish.
We have we start off with a destination, and then as time goes on, they approve that destination. So if the water condition wasn't right, they would say, no, you can't release there. You need to release here.
So I remember looking at those pictures. You have different kids who are taking cups, and they're just taking a few of the fish at a time and release them into the water.
Yeah, what they do there is you know, over the time that we have them in the classroom, the kids become really attached to the fish, and they're already looking, oh, there's my fish, and there's my fish. So we allow them to get the fish, put them in the bucket, give them a name, and tell them we'll see them later. So the kids actually put the fish in the cup and gently puts them into the river where they swim away.
There goes Johnny. Good
There
luck,
goes Johnny,
right?
yes. And we'll be back next year to fish the upper kern, and hopefully we'll...
So you've done that for 2 years now?
Yes.
And what's your success rate been?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. We've been very high in the hatch rate and very high in the release rate.
So what I'm hearing is you're teaching the kids some conservation and how to give back, not just take the fish out of the creek, but you're actually putting them in the upper Kern River.
That's correct.
And then you're also doing some partnering with the Aqua Bonita fly fishing group here in town. They're helping support what you guys are doing.
That's correct.
That just sounds like a real plus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a kid wants to go fish, you have some classes, right? When do you guys have those classes?
We have classes every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. And at the class we teach them the basics, how to tie gear, how to use the equipment, where to use it, what equipment to use.
And how much does the class cost?
It's absolutely free to the kids.
So the kids just show up?
The kids show up, we teach them, and that's where the thrift store and the tackle shop come in together. Those funds pay for those kids to go through the program.
So what are some of the places that you've had a chance to take the kids fishing so far?
Oh, we've been to Crawley Lake, we've been to the Owens River, all the streams and rivers in Bishop and Independence, Lake Diaz, Isabella, Lake Piru, Lake Casitas. We've even had them down to the ocean where we spent the weekend on the pier fishing. Which
pier did you go to?
Ventura Pier.
Okay, down in Ventura, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so you guys went all the way down there, spent the night, and were fishing, catching some ocean fish.
We were catching some ocean fish, and we also brought along some hoop nets where you put bait on then you toss them over the pier, and you bring up crabs and lobsters, and we did really well. We had a great time.
Yeah, I don't think too many kids in Ridgecrest think they're going to go out for the weekend catching some lobster.
There it was. We had them.
Now, I remember one story. It was they had these fishing derbies, right, that you go to?
Yes.
And it was at Lake Diaz. One of the kids was able to catch one of the award-winning fish.
Well, he actually what he won was the bogey prize. He first won the largest fish in his age group, which got him about $200 worth of fishing gear from the derby. And then they, before the derby starts, they write down a weight, say 2 pounds 2 ounces, and they hold that aside, and then they go through all the contestants, and whoever's the closest to that number wins the bogey prize. And last year it was $800. And one of our students won that bogey prize, plus the largest fish in his thing. So he walked away with about $1,200 worth of stuff.
So,
cash.
So let me see if I get this right. A kid shows up, everything's for free. Wednesday night, learns how to fish, goes up to Lake Diaz for the fishing tournament, and he comes home with $1,200 worth of cash and prizes.
That's correct.
Wow, that sounds like for somebody who's not too active, that would be something to get them interested in real quick.
Yes.
Now, how much of that money did he share?
He did not share. Can I tell you a little story?
Sure.
We're on our way back from the lake, and I stop at a Lancer to get gas, and I see he's in the car behind me. So I put the gas in my motorhome, and I walk back. I said, Bobby, I spent all my money on gas. Can you go in the store and buy me a little bag of Skittles? He says, you're on your own. You're on your own. I knew he knew I was messing with him.
That sounds like a lot of fun, and I've been there a few times and seen some of those interactions and how much you're having fun with the kids, and it's not just transportation, but you're actually able to lead them and to talk to them. And that's an interesting point, is that you're faith-based, and you are able to talk to the kids, not with a hands-off that I can't talk about religion to them, but that was something that was real important. And we're going to get ready to go for another break here in just a few more seconds. And when we come back, I want to talk some more about what it means to be faith-based as a nonprofit, as well as what can the community do to help you as you're working through all of these challenges, because you've come a long way from being in your garage in your house and taking 2 kids fishing the weekend to now having this storefront and trying to take the kids every month up to go fishing up in the mountains.
Yeah.
So this is Ridgecrest Talk with your host, Paul Vander, our founders of Teaching Kids to Fish, Billy and Betsy Reynolds, and we'll be back right after this. And this is Ridgecrest Talk, your host, Paul Vander, continuing to talk with our founders for a local faith-based nonprofit, Teaching Kids to Fish, Billy and Betsy Reynolds. Billy, you started off out of your garage. You started off just having a couple kids walk down the street that you took up fishing. And as you decided that you wanted to do more working with the community, giving back to the community, you had this question to yourself of, is this going to be just a straight nonprofit where you can get more grants, or are you going to follow your Christian faith and be a faith-based organization? How easy of a decision was that for you?
For Betsy and I, it was a tough decision because there's a lot more opportunity for non-faith-based groups as far as grants and things of that nature. But we wanted to stay true to our beliefs, and we filed as a faith-based organization.
Okay, so being faith-based, that gives you a plus, though. It's not just all negative. What's the plus in that? You're able to talk to the kids?
Well, maybe we're able to minister to the kids with our faith. It doesn't mean that the faith base is our faith. We have many different faiths in our organization. There's kids from all different types of faiths. So we're open to every faith. By putting the word faith-based means that I have an opportunity to minister to them in my faith.
Right, okay. Now we're going to kind of wrap this up for the evening, but we want to talk about not just what you're doing, but how do we get the community involved to support you? And there's a few different ways. Let's kind of go through those. One of them is sponsorship. What is a sponsorship for your program?
Sponsorship helps. We have 3 different levels. We have a gold, silver, and platinum sponsorship, and they all have different amounts, and those amounts help with the kids through the program. So they sponsor the program through that sponsorship. We have a business program, business sponsorship and individual sponsorship.
So you can be a business and be an official sponsor.
Yes.
Or you can just see what's happening and say, I want to individually sponsor.
That's correct.
These kids so they can go fishing.
And we also put all their names on our websites, all our sponsors.
Now, what about helping out with the tackle shop and the thrift shop? You have volunteers, or do you pay for that? How does that work?
It's all volunteer. We could use all the volunteer help that we can get. There's always something to be done there.
So typically, if someone wants to come down and volunteer to work at the thrift shop, what are they doing, like 4 hours a week?
Whatever they're comfortable with. We'll take whatever help we can get.
All right, so some people come down more, and some people
That's correct.
Maybe only on their Flex Friday day off or whatever it might be.
A couple hours a week.
Okay. And so then, besides the sponsorships and the volunteering, you also have adults that need to be with you in your teaching class and going out on the trips
That's
as well, right?
Yeah, we're starting our mentoring program now, where we're because of the number of kids that we are having, we need to individualize the kids with an adult mentor.
Right. Now, we talked earlier about the challenges with the construction, and we kind of started to wrap up with different ways the community can get involved. Last week I had a local guy, Joe Chesney, who's now up on the Upper Kern River doing whitewater rafting, but now they're actually doing tubes coming down the river. And I talked to him and I said, I think there's a good match with what you're doing with teaching kids to fish. And he said, you know what? He said, these kids haven't gotten the chance to go out and fish for 2 months. He said, you let them know. I'll take them down the river for free. We'll have a good time. And so then we had some other questions. How do we pay for the gas? Well, I got somebody to pay for the gas, and Joe's going to bring his own van down and take the kids up if we can get that worked out. And we're going to work on getting food all taken care of for them. And that would be your first trip where you're not trying to provide for the kids, but everything's kind of being taken care of for you. And so, anyways, I think we're running out of time this evening. This is Paul Vander with our guests tonight, Billy and Betsy Reynolds, teaching kids to fish, a unusual but interesting local nonprofit working with our kids to get them out of trouble and get them fishing. Thank you.